While a majority of water bodies out there are welcoming and safe to swim in, quite a few of them are absolutely no-go zones. In this video, we're going to see a lake that's threatening the lives of over 2 million people, a watery 3,000-foot diver's grave, and a radioactive lake. The Jianghe River, China. A casual glance at the Jianghe River tells you something's up. Rather than the usual clear water you're gonna expect to see, you're greeted by an intense red, the result of industrial pollution by 2 illegal chemical plants nearby. The 2 companies had apparently been producing red dye for firework wrappers when they decided to dump the resultant waste into the city's storm pipe and ultimately into the river. According to the city officials, this was hardly an issue as tests had apparently confirmed that the dye didn't contain harmful chemicals. But the same officials also turned down a $20,000 offer to take a dip in the river, so probably the said dye had more to do with it than they cared to admit. But also it's China. You kind of expect this from them. Boiling Lake, Dominica. The famous Dominica Boiling Lake is located near Wat Mountain and Morne Troy National Park. From a few feet away, visitors get a glimpse of what's below its surface as steam escapes from the mountain pool, an indication of just how hot this natural wonder is. But if the steamy display isn't enough, moving closer will reveal the lake's bubbling center. No one really has the courage to go check this out, but to be fair, that's a bad idea either way, seeing as the water along the edges is hot enough, averaging between 180 and 197 degrees Fahrenheit. However, it's not just the boiling lake that's dangerous. The area around it too can be a bit uncomfortable, filled with hot steam and the acrid smell of sulfur and other volcanic gases. All this wafts up all the way from the Earth's core. At least 3 people have died from asphyxiation while in the area, so it's best not to chance things. Blue Lagoon, England. Blue Lagoon is another name for Harper Hill Quarry, an English mining site that has been in operation since 1835. Up until 1938, the quarry was a source of limestone, which was turned into quicklime for the steelmaking industry. The Royal Air Force would later take over the quarry that same year, and use it as a depot for storing chemical weapons, eventually becoming the largest chemical weapons storage during the Second World War. It was eventually abandoned, leaving a striking blue quarry lake behind it. It does look attractive, but the chemicals from its past make swimming in it potentially dangerous as well. To discourage people from jumping in, the local authorities have dyed the small lake black at least thrice alongside erecting warning signs in the vicinity. Lake Kivu, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Volcanic eruptions are scary enough, but you know what's even scarier? The threat of large amounts of carbon dioxide and methane getting dumped in the air around you, which is exactly what the people around Lake Kivu have to deal with on a daily basis. Straddling the border between the DRC and Rwanda, the lake's bed is being constantly pulled apart thanks to being located in a rift valley. This in turn results in volcanic activity below the water's surface, which is the source of all the methane and carbon dioxide. For now, the lake is pretty tame, but strong enough volcanic activities could unleash the gases on the nearby population. This in turn would suffocate over 2 million people near the lakeshore. While the gases could be extracted, their sheer volume makes the entire endeavor forbiddingly expensive. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Lake Nyos is in the same situation as Lake Kivu, saturated with tons of carbon dioxide just waiting for the perfect moment to unleash it on the local population. Unlike Kivu though, Nyos isn't just a threat. Back over in 1986, a landslide saw the lake releasing a large cloud of carbon dioxide that killed over 1,700 people alongside 3,500 livestock. Referred to as the Limnik eruption, this occurrence wasn't exactly unknown, but it was the first and only time it was ever witnessed. As a way of preventing a repeat of the disaster, 3 degassing tubes that allow the slow release of carbon dioxide have been installed. Either way though, it is still a threat, and it's very much alive due to the lake's weakening walls. Lake Natron, Tanzania. A major physical feature in Tanzania's Ngorongoro district, Lake Natron is known for its high alkalinity with the pH ranging between 10 and 12. These high pH readings are caused primarily by 2 salts. One is called natron and the other is known as trona. Given their high concentration, they're extremely corrosive, so any animal that steps into the lake will certainly end up dead. Additionally, the salts are also good preservatives, so the said animals can stay intact for a long time, kinda like a mummy. Surprisingly, the lake isn't devoid of living creatures though. It's native to a few invertebrate species, some fish, algae, and some birds. The lesser flamingos, for instance, use the lake as their only breeding ground, which has put a strain on their population growth to the point that they're near threatened. Great Blue Hole, Belize. At over 1,000 feet across and 400 feet deep, the Great Blue Hole is the second largest underwater sinkhole. Estimates place the hole's age at over 15,000 years old, initially a dry cave as evidenced by small stalactites near the bottom. Another interesting find that you might bump into as you descend into the hole that there's a thick layer of toxic hydrogen sulfide. Beyond this layer, life vanishes from the hole, as one researcher put it. Any living creature that reaches this level automatically dies, which is probably what happened to the people who have succumbed in the hole. Other than that, Blue Hole is pretty tame compared to the other waters in our video. It's also very popular among diving enthusiasts who know better than to go deeper than they need to. Jukskei River, South Africa. Jukskei River is among the largest in Johannesburg, starting near the city's center and snaking through suburbia before terminating into the Crocodile River a few miles downstream. This urban setting combined with a lack of proper infrastructure around the area have led to raw sewage being dumped into the river, leading to serious pollution. As a result, this lake is teeming with E. coli with a concentration of about 1.5 million per 100 milliliters, a far cry from the natural levels of 500 per 100. Of course, that can't be good, especially for the impoverished city residents, as they have to use the same water for cleaning, cooking, and drinking. Also in the summer, the river causes flooding around their homes, bringing with it the possibility of disease outbreaks. Sadly, the residents have nowhere to run, and the pollution doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon. Lake Karachay, Russia. Surrounded by the beautiful Ural Mountain scenery, Lake Karachay was the dumping ground for nuclear waste, and I mean a lot of it. This was done from the Chelyabinsk 65 plant between 1951 and 1953. According to some sources, the radioactivity in the lake is almost comparable to that of Chernobyl, despite the lake being way smaller. With that level of pollution, just an hour along the lake shore is enough to kill a human. Naturally, a considerable area around the lake has been closed off, so there's really no risk of anyone crossing over. The bigger issue is that Lake Karachay, being that radioactive, might end up contaminating the Teka River and eventually the Atlantic Ocean. So what seems to be an isolated Russian problem might as well very turn into a global one. Ooh, that one did not age well. Jacob's Well, United States. The cool, crystal clear waters of Jacob's Well in Texas have made it a favorite hangout spot, especially during the summer. The well is about 13 feet wide and offers just the perfect swimming spot for both kids and adults, in which case it's pretty safe. But humans are curious and daring, and many stupid people are around too. In the past, divers used to go down the well, and that's when things got a little dark. Down there, the well is slightly slanted with narrow passageways that require more than the average diving experience and equipment to navigate. These passageways are quite deep, with some extending to as much as 4,500 feet from the well's surface. Most of the divers who attempted to explore Jacob's Well didn't have this kind of information, nor were they prepared, both in terms of skill and equipment. As a result, about 9 people have died below the well over the years. Bolton Strid, England. The Bolton Strid is a small stretch of river wharf known for its lush green appearance, almost like it was pulled right out of a fairy tale. It's also deceptively narrower than the rest of the river, making it the perfect trout for unsuspecting hikers. Beneath the waters, the river flows into a tight shaft at an almost vertical position before continuing on normally. This has created an extremely powerful current and subsequently a void around the stretch which swallows up anything around it, including people. So instead of getting into the water for a dip, hikers instead choose to just hang around the moss-covered boulders of the Strid. Drake Passage. Consolidating waters from the Atlantic, Pacific, and Southern Oceans, the Drake Passage is the shortest boat route to Antarctica, taking a little over 2 days to cross. On the flip side, though, it's the most dangerous thanks to unpredictable and chaotic weather, which includes winds, huge waves, and rapid water movement. On average, the waves in the passage can reach heights of up to 40 feet, while the water flow rate is 500 times that of the Amazon River. In other words, it's very fast. And if that all wasn't enough, sailors using the passage also have to watch out for icebergs found all over the way. Quite a task considering all the winds and waves travelers have to deal with in the first place. Good thing though, the passage isn't always turbulent, sometimes allowing sailors to cross it without too much trouble. Rio Tinto River, Spain. The Red River, as Rio Tinto was often referred to, played a big role in human civilization. For 5,000 years has been a source of silver, copper, and gold, exploited first by the Iberians and Tartessians, then the Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, Visigoths, and finally the Moors. It'd later be abandoned for hundreds of years until 1724, when the Spanish government resumed mining operations. Fast forward into the 19th century, mining went full-blown with extensive excavations before being discontinued several years later. But the damage had already been done. The water became highly acidic, and the dissolved iron turned the river red, which could very well be a warning for people to stay away. Citarum River, Indonesia. Just like Rio Tinto, Citarum River has also had to deal with excess pollution for years on an unbelievable scale. As per some sources, over 2,000 industries used to freely dump toxic waste into the river, introducing pollutants like sulfides, mercury, arsenic, and many other extremely toxic substances. Textile factories were specifically singled out in a documentary as the biggest contributors to the river's problems. Naturally, the pollution has negatively affected the lives of the more than 5 million people that live in the river. Once a big part of agriculture in the area, irrigating rice paddies with the polluted water is no longer viable. While there have been programs to restore the river's lost glory, it's certainly going to take a long time before that happens. Blue Hole, Egypt. A popular Red Sea diving spot, the Blue Hole itself is around 390 feet deep, but the distance from the surface dramatically increases as you venture into its various openings, with the deepest reaching well over 3,300 feet below the surface. Due to the lack of currents in the hole, it appears to be quite safe, yet divers do keep dying here for some reason. While there aren't any official records, between 130 to 200 people have met their ends in this hole, and any visitor is reminded of this grim reality by the commemorative plaques left by the families and friends of the departed divers. See you all next time!